today I'm going to be doing a video talking about the Celestron. It is a Celestron 8-24mm Zoom Eyepiece, and I want to say right off the bat that if you are planning to get into astronomy and you're going to be getting your first telescope, this here is a must eyepiece that I would highly recommend. And this is basically the canister that it should come in. It should come in a canister like that. I don't know if my focus is going to want to show up or not on that, but there we go. Bing! So anyways, that is the case. This is the case that it comes in. This is actually my club vice president's eyepiece, so it's not mine. But anyways, I'm going to take it out of the package. It looks like my web camera is a little out of focus, so see if I can bring my focus back. See if I can bring it back into focus. I guess it's not going to come back into focus. Anyways, so this eyepiece is really cool. It's a little dirty because I haven't washed it and whatnot. But this here is the lens. You can see me inside of there. That's basically what the lens looks like. Now, something I wanted to let you know about this eyepiece, and here's a little tour of the eyepiece here. You got the Celestron logo right there, and then you got the zoom modes that you can basically zoom into. So you got your 24mm, you got your 16mm, you got your 12mm, and you got your 8mm zoom. And then basically all you have to do is you turn the eyepiece to where you want it to be at, and it will zoom in to the magnification that you want. What I want to mention about this eyepiece is, and like I said, I do recommend this eyepiece. I highly recommend you get this. I mean, if you're going to be going with a nice telescope, maybe even the Celestron Power Seeker 80 EQ like I've been doing videos on, or if you really want to get the best bang out of this eyepiece and you want a simple telescope, I'd probably recommend it with a Dobsonian 8-inch Dob. But basically any telescope that you plan to use this with would probably be good, depending on the diagonal, of course. If it's a cheap diagonal, you may not get really good views out of it. So you may be disappointed if it's a cheap telescope. If you got a really cheap telescope, I probably wouldn't recommend this eyepiece at all. But if you got a pretty decent telescope, I'm gonna assume maybe the $130 price range and higher end telescopes I would recommend this eyepiece for. Now, this eyepiece sells online. I've seen it selling for, I think the lowest I've seen is maybe if you're lucky, you can get it used for about $45 and whatever they want for shipping. Brand new, it'll run you a little over $60, which is still a really good price because this eyepiece will help you from having to change out eyepieces. However, I still would recommend a larger eyepiece. By larger, I mean like a 40mm eyepiece to kind of help you find your objects in the sky, because it'll have a wider view. But this is definitely a plus eyepiece. I love this thing, and I'm going to talk a lot about this, so this is going to be a long video as it already is now. But this thing is really nice on the Orion Nebula. I personally took this eyepiece out, and used it on the Orion Nebula, and I'm telling you, the views with an 8-inch Dobsonian with this eyepiece alone is just amazing. If your collimation on your Dob is dead on, you're gonna get some really mind-blowing views of the Orion Nebula with this eyepiece. It's really nice. I love how, I think my favorite magnifications with this eyepiece is, it would have to be the 24, the actual 24 millimeter, and the 8 millimeter with this eyepiece. Now, obviously, the 24 will give you a wider view of the Orion Nebula, but the 8 millimeter will give you a closer view of it, which means that you'll almost feel like you are there in the Orion Nebula. A very, very nice view of the Orion Nebula with an 8-inch stop. It's not too bad with the Celestron Power Seeker 80 EQ, but it really shines with an 8-inch stop so far that I've tested with. I haven't tested this with any other telescopes because, well, you know, I just don't have money and I don't really have room to basically store telescopes in like some other people do. So I've only been able to test this eyepiece mainly with my 8-inch stop, and this eyepiece is really good. In fact, I kind of want to get one of these myself, but I'm kind of scared that if I do get one, my astronomy club vice president's going to give me one anyway. So I'm kind of hoping that maybe down the road I'm going to get one of these from him and I won't buy it myself. But highly recommend this eyepiece. It'll save you a lot of money, okay? A lot of money. I wish I would have known about this eyepiece before I started spending money on 10mm eyepieces and, you know, all the other eyepieces that I had, because this is one eyepiece in one eyepiece. I mean, it's basically, I don't even know, I'm assuming 8 to 24, so you can go down to from, I guess, 24 down to 20 millimeter, down to 20, well, 24 down to, I think, 20 to 18 to probably 10, and then 12, and then or 12 and then 10 and then 8 millimeters with this eyepiece, if I'm not mistaken. I'm pretty sure it's the way it works, but it might not. But it kind of seems like the spaces are representing the next one, which after 24 would be 20 millimeters, and then after 20 millimeters goes down to 18 millimeters, and after 18 millimeters would take you down to, I think, 16 millimeters, and after 12 is 10, and then after 10 is 8. I could be wrong on that, so don't quote me on that. But one other thing about this eyepiece is I never knew this until, well, the little rubber thing above the eyepiece came off on me, and it exposed a thread on it. I'll show you that real quick. So this here, you simply take the rubber piece off of the lens here, and then if you look here, I don't know if my focus is going to come in because I'm using a web camera here, but there we go. You can kind of see the threads there, hopefully. Anyways, this here will allow you, okay, this will allow you to screw on to a T-ring and allow you to be able to have your DSLR, once it's screwed on to a T-ring, connect to your DSLR, and then you can use the DSLR over the eyepiece, and then from there you can start taking pictures with the eyepiece. Now, personally, I have not had any luck doing that just yet, but it is supposedly possible to do, but you're definitely going to want a telescope that has good tracking, and by good tracking I mean a motor-driven, probably auto-guided telescope that is really expensive, And if you plan to do astrophotography with, which I found out is really not cheap at all, probably you won't be using this to do astrophotography with unless you rake out the money to basically get a fancy dancy telescope that does all the tracking. Now, I mean, I don't want to turn this out off subject and all, which is going to be what it's going to be about anyways, but you could get a Starseeker 4, and that's like the affordable way. It's still not really that great, but anyways, that's the pretty much the video that I wanted to share with you. I do want to say that you can see the moons of Jupiter with this eyepiece here. It is something that you can see. Now I did try looking at the Andromeda Galaxy with this eyepiece, and let's just say it wasn't something that I enjoyed looking at with the eyepiece. I mean, you can see it, but the factors are, for me at least, the time that I did use it, the moon was out, and it was basically lighting up the sky to the point that it was, making the view of the Andromeda Galaxy pretty washed out. So I haven't really got to use it on that, but I even with the moon out and looking at the Orion Nebula, it is really nice. And the fact that you can take this eyepiece and you can zoom in without having to take out another eyepiece. So it's like you almost need only 2 eyepieces. You would only need like a 40mm eyepiece if you're going to use an 8-inch stop, or for example, if you're going to use the PowerSeeker 80 EQ, you can use a 40mm Sirius Plossel, which I'll think about doing a video on that one too. That's like a $40 eyepiece, but I don't want to go into that in this video because this is not what that video is about. It's about this eyepiece from Celestron, which I'll give you another zoom in real quick. If the focus will work. It's like, focus. There you go. So right there is the part number. You can actually type in that number right there, which is number sign 93230. That is the actual part number for this eyepiece. You can find it on Celestron, you can find it on eBay, you can find it on Amazon, and you can also find it in the description below. And I will say that I have included in a commission link, so if you guys want to use my link as a way to give me a small commission on you buying this eyepiece from Amazon, that is great. You will be helping me out, and I'll probably even take some of that money and maybe also throw it into my local astronomy club as a donation for some of you who are nice enough to want to buy this eyepiece off of Amazon using the link in the description below to purchase this and anything else you want to get for astronomy. But personally, this eyepiece, highly recommend. Definitely got to get one myself. I haven't got to try it on Saturn yet, but I can only imagine how cool this is going to be on Saturn. The fact that you'll be able to zoom in up to 8mm is really cool. Without having to swap out eyepieces, a bunch of eyepieces. You basically got a bunch of eyepieces in one eyepiece right here, and it's a real great eyepiece, and it's probably one of the most interesting eyepieces I've got to use so far. It's probably one of my favorites out of all the eyepieces that I have, and I don't even own this yet, and I cannot believe that I haven't owned one yet. But definitely plan to get one, and I highly recommend it to you. And if you have any questions for me, you can leave them in the comments below. I will try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. But that's basically it for this video. And feel free to check out some of my other videos. Feel free to subscribe to this YouTube channel if you want. I will be releasing more videos on it maybe in the near future. I'm thinking about starting a dedicated channel for all my astro photography and astronomy things, because this is like a channel that was a rant channel, and then it started getting my astronomy stuff on it. So anyways, thanks for watching. Questions, leave them in comments. If you guys want to buy one of these eyepieces through Amazon, you can use the link if you want to give me a little kickback. And trust me, it's not a lot at all. It's a very small discount, a small commission that I would make off of this. We're talking maybe $1 or a couple of dollars, whatever, 6% of whatever the price it is for the day is basically what I will make off of you buying it with my link. And you can just make sure that if you plan to buy this, if you want to use my link, you don't close the browser out before you finish submitting your order. Otherwise, the commission will not be applied. So as soon as you close your browser out, it basically doesn't count anymore as a credit for me. So if you want to give me a little kickback, whatnot, make sure you go through the whole checkout and get everything you need in your shopping cart on Amazon before you close your browser out. And thank you for your help. Hopefully this video has been helpful to you, and if it's not, I apologize. I tend to go into a rant sometimes, so I try to say that for the end. But again, highly recommend the eyepiece. I honestly wish I could show you me using it and so you can see what it looks like in the eyepiece, but unfortunately I don't have a phone mount that is big enough to fit around this. So that's one thing I should mention too, is if you plan to want to use this with your phone mount, make sure that you probably get one that can extend pretty wide. We're talking about probably about like that wide, almost the size of a 2-inch eyepiece. So yeah, that could be a big factor too, because the majority of these phone mounts that are available, except for the Carson ones, the Carson hookups are probably the only ones that would fit over this eyepiece. But the problem is the Carson hookup eyepieces don't grip too well, so you could potentially have your phone take a plunge onto hard ground and crack your screen. So sadly, I don't recommend those. But anyways, that's it. Thank you. Any questions, comments, you can leave them there. Feel free to become a subscriber. And thank you for watching.